Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me to figure out a little bit more information on how to create Benchmark Universe and Seesaw all together. I wanted to first let you know that we are happy to help at any time. And here is some of our contact information. So if you get stuck, if you need more help in any way, if there's anything we can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to start today by showing you my Seesaw dashboard. This dashboard is the teacher view of Seesaw, and there are some basic features here for you to see. The first is the journal. The journal is where all of your student work created through Seesaw will appear for you so that as they continue to add in work here, this will get longer and longer. You can also see it in a calendar view so that you know which day students submitted different work items to you. The next item that I'm going to show you today is the activities. These are activities that I've created through Seesaw for my students while integrating Benchmark Universe. There's a title, there's a short direction. Down below, I can see the day that I assigned it to, how many have come in, how many responses I have, as well as I can see the student view of what students have responded to. So I'm going to go ahead and click that student view as my sample student so that you can see what a student would see when they log in to Seesaw. They have their basic response tools here that are available for them. They also have the instructions that are up at the top. Now, these instructions can be read to students or they can read them themselves. They also have the link to their resource that they're going to be doing today. So their resource says, read the book and respond with a video about the main character traits. As I click into that resource, it's going to take me to the Benchmark Universe resource that I've added in as a customization to my material. Now I clicked no that I do not want to edit this because any edits created within Seesaw, even though it is a Benchmark Universe material, does not save within the Seesaw presentation. So if you wanted students to annotate their text and then show you what they've annotated, they'll either need to take screenshots of that for you and then upload it as evidence, or they can do those annotations pulling out keywords or identifying and answering questions on a different notes page within Seesaw, not within Benchmark Universe. But you see here that within Benchmark Universe, I have all of the text here that I want to be able to read, or this can also be read to me. So in Seesaw, here is my book and my resource, my student view of what I was going to be doing, and I can close out. Now, as a student, I could click into any one of these to be able to answer and respond to my teacher, but I asked them to create a video. So my students would click here into video, talk to me about the character traits of the story that they just read, and then submit. That's the student view of the resource that I've created for my students. Every one of these assignments is going to look a little bit different. So this one here is play the game and write the words on the document when you are done. So as my student clicks into this, they're going to be taken to that benchmark resource where I pulled the link out of Benchmark Universe, added it into Seesaw. As this game opens up for me and my students play OO as in book, they can push play. They can see the words come across their screen as they choose some of these books. As they finish and go back into Seesaw, they're going to have an opportunity here to add words from the game, and they can add in the words that they saw while playing the game here. As each student adds those responses, I will get those work samples in my journal so that I can make sure, did they understand the game that they just played, or is it something that I need to review with my students individually? So that's the student view of Seesaw connected with Benchmark. You also have an inbox here where students can send you questions, comments, or you can just chat with your students, and then specific skills as well. but I'm going to show you now how to add in Benchmark Universe into Seesaw. I'm going to simply click this add button right here. I don't want to post to my students' work. I want to add an assignment activity here for them. So as I click that, it gives me my library of assignments. These are every assignment that I've ever created, where if I wanted to, I could edit, modify or refine them and resend them as assignments, or I could create a new one. The other great thing on this page is that you have a community button right here. This community button allows you to search other teachers, other educators, work that they've created. And if I type in Benchmark Advance, because that's the real name of what we're doing, I'm going to see all these other teachers' ideas that they've done here. I can add these to my library and simply modify them to meet my students' needs, or I could get some ideas here for my students. There's hundreds of them. I could continue scrolling through, but just to get an idea of what other people are doing, this is a great resource to be able to look through. I'm going to click into my library today, and we're going to focus on creating our own activities. So as I click that plus button to create, it's always going to ask me to name my activity. And today I'm going to show you a book. And so I can add a voice for instructions for my students. So as they click open that instruction, it's automatically read to them, which is a great support for those non-readers or those students that are still learning how to read. Or I can type in the instructions, read the book 2 times, and answer questions. Then I have instructions for my students, and I want to create the resource from the Benchmark Universe. So I'm going to click open this. I have all of these choices of things that I want to attach, but today I'm going to be showing you how to attach a link. So as I click that link button right there, click back into Benchmark Universe, which is just another tab open up on the top of my screen. I still have Seesaw open and Benchmark Universe. I'm going to create a book that I want my students to read. So I see here How Chipmunk Got His Stripes. The other thing that you can see up here is I have a blue box around this My First Aquarium. If I make any edits within Benchmark Universe to the resources for my students, I need to make sure that I select the correct one before I send it over to my students. So when I click into that blue box, I see ones that I've edited as well as the original. So if I wanted to send one that I've edited over to my students, I want to make sure, first of all, that I would give it an appropriate name, which I did not. And I want to make sure that that's the title in the blue box before I click the share settings. That's not the book we're sharing today, but I just wanted to give you that tip. I'm going to talk about How Chipmunk Got His Stripes. I'm going to click on this little gear that's in the bottom of that resource, and you can see that it says create link for outside access. When I push on that, it takes me to this direct access link. This is going to be available to be outside of my workspace, and I'm going to be able to now assign this through Seesaw to my students. I've copied that link. I'm going to just pop back over to Seesaw and paste in that exact same link that I just used out of that resource. The green check mark up at the top lets me know that my link is correct and I'm ready to move on. So by clicking on that, it moves me to the next page here, where I can either record additional instructions for my students or I can caption it for them. And I don't need either of that to happen. If I wanted to hear them read the story, I could definitely do that. But I'm going to click the check mark and say that I am done adding that assignment. So I can see my activity name, my student instructions, and my link here down at the bottom. I could add in a template for them to be able to add in their response to, or I can just let them select the notes page from that menu when they get to that point. So I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and click on save. And now that I save it, I can see that it's been added to my library, and I can assign this to different students. If I had different classrooms, I could choose which classroom I wanted to do that. But today I'm going to add that to my Benchmark Tech class, and I'm going to assign it to that classroom. So now that it's assigned to my students are going to sign in and my students are going to respond. Now I also have, since I'm in my own library here, I have the opportunity to edit. I can add it to a different collection. I can delete this activity, or I can share this activity with other teachers, maybe within my grade level at my school site, so that we can start sharing that workload now that we're doing distance learning. And I can select teachers, or I can email them that link and they can add this to their Seesaw, and they can also use it with their students, which is a great way to be able to share that workload with teachers. So now that I'm back in my class, I do see the book has been added right here to my list of activities. I know what day and time I assigned it for them, as well as who I've assigned it to. I also see that there have been no responses. And so I can keep track and manage how many of my students are responding to this work or not. If I'm done and I don't want this book anymore, I click the little 3 dots down on the bottom and I can completely just delete this activity. I could also get this activity link and share it with families on Class Dojo or on another app through email if that would be easier for them. But you need to remind your students that within APS, that these outside links to Benchmark Universe will only be able to work with students if they're logged in through ClassLink, which is my.aps.edu. That's very important. Seesaw is in that portal window for them so that they'll be able to see Seesaw. Seesaw will be opened as well as Benchmark Universe, and then the links will work. If they're trying to access this through a phone, through an iPad app, or through a Seesaw direct account, and they are not logged into ClassLink, when students click on these links, it will show them an error code or that the session has expired and they will not have access to those resources. So please help your students and your teachers, your parents to know that the way they want to access your Seesaw account and have access to these resources is for them to be able to go through ClassLink, which is my.aps.edu. That's very important. You also want to know that this tool up here at the very top right-hand corner is where you're going to be able to see your class settings. The best way to be able to use Seesaw at home is by using the class code on a shared device. They're assuming that students are sharing devices with either parents or siblings at home. This is not their own personal device. So that is the class code that you want to be able to use. So the class code shared device, and then you're going to be able to have your at-home learning codes be able to work for your students. So that's how you can download those codes and print those codes for your students and be able to share them together that way. Is right here, making sure that it's the class code and the shared device and the at-home learning codes that are here for your students. Also within these settings, you'll be able to turn on and off different things that you want and don't want for your students to be able to do. You can manage your folders, set it up so that you can differentiate for your students and make it the most meaningful learning that they can have. This was the basic steps to being able to add links to Seesaw through Benchmark Universe. Again, Benchmark Universe, anything with a wheel on it or a little gear down at the bottom is going to give you that create link for direct access. That's going to mean that they don't have to log into Benchmark Universe to get there. They are just being able to be added into your Seesaw. And so once you do that, your students have access and they're able to use Seesaw with all of the tools that they would typically be using in your classroom, but now at home. Hopefully that answers all of your questions. And if you have anything that I can do to support you with, again, here's that contact information. Feel free to reach out to myself, to Rachel, or to Kathy, and we are happy to support you in any way. So hopefully that helps, and have a great learning. Bye.